Hey fuckers, the date today is Sunday, February 2nd, 2025. It's another exciting episode of the Carpenter Johnny show. And I want to start this episode talking about how yours truly, Carpenter Johnny, is putting himself in danger every day by being a good, honest business person who doesn't take deposits and does a lot of work up front for some of the best prices in the city and telling people the truth. And the reason I've been putting myself in danger is that a lot of local contractors are really upset about it because they're saying that they can't compete with my ethics and my business model. And so what's pretty much been happening is that in the last 3 months alone, I've had 2 separate local contractors drive by my house and take a picture of it and then send it to me as if I'm, gonna be intimidated. But the reason it's relatively concerning is if they are planning to, commit a murder-suicide where, they're going bankrupt and they're blaming Carpenter Johnny for the reason they're going bankrupt and not because they're goofs with money and they're probably not telling people the truth and doing stupid stuff that's killing their own business. But the concern is that if they're planning to end it all, are they going to take yours truly out with them as well? And so I just want to remind the customers that when you hire Carpenter Johnny, it's a privilege to hire somebody that not only is he honest, hardworking, and giving you the best price, but he's actually, in many cases, potentially putting himself in danger to provide the goods and services to the community. And, and the thing is that it's really upsetting about this is that there's nothing really remarkable about what I do other than just trying to be a good person and, having a good head on your shoulders and going to work every day for an honest hourly rate and paying the bills. And, you would think that something so basic wouldn't be anything revolutionary. But then when you go and you examine, the average contractor, the average person in this business, you realize a few things. They hate working. They hate serving the community. They, they think that they're very entitled. They think that they deserve a lot more than they're actually worth. And they're really bad at paying their bills. Because again, they have lifestyle creep or, they have a drug addiction and they can't keep their costs under control. And again, a lot of people have, I've had some, weird characters claiming that I'm a dishonest person because I own several rental properties. And, guys, it's not a secret that I have over $1 million in mortgages, right? And the challenge is that people can't believe that a person like myself has acquired, his wealth and built his businesses by doing good ethics, telling people the truth, but more importantly, making money by entering into voluntary contracts with other individuals in the free market. And so when you think about how the average, contractor or business person is potentially lazy, stupid, greedy, unethical, for them to see how I operate is literally like they can't believe it. They can't believe that in this day and age, in 2025 in Canada, that a person can actually get ahead and climb the socioeconomic ladder by just being a good person that has a good head on their shoulders, isn't going out all night partying and doing drugs, and just paying your goddamn bills and honoring your contractual obligations. And this doesn't just necessarily apply to the contractors. This statement can also apply to some homeowners. And look, it's not a secret that I've been dealing with Manitobans for the last 5 years. Like, yes, I've been in business for 10 years, but half of my business experience was in Ontario. So when I moved to Manitoba at the end of 2019, so 2020 was my first year in Manitoba. Since 2020 till now, it's been 5 years in Manitoba, dealing with Manitobans, and actually 2025 represents year 6. And again, it's not a secret that there's been many times where I showed up to a quote and I quoted it the same way I always quote every single job. And we don't do a price per square foot for decks or per linear foot for prices, because in order for me to give the best possible price out there, because every project is different, I have to go out there and I have to take my measurements, grind the material budget that's specific to that project, and then give a very customized, unique quote. And yeah, it's inconvenient doing that. And yeah, it takes me longer to do it. But this way, my clientele and my customers have the satisfaction of knowing that I tailored a quote specifically for their situation, and that I was able to break down all the costs and ensure that I could give them the best possible price. So then, saying all that, there's been many instances where I go and I provide my my quote where we keep the material and the labor separate from each other. And it's happened, it happens pretty often where the customer looks at the material quote, which again isn't even my quote because I actually don't even price material. I send the material list to the supplier, and they send out an estimate that has their company name on it, and it's to be paid by the customer directly to them. Like, I don't even get any money for buying the material. The homeowners deal directly with the supplier, and obviously I'm shopping around for them and trying to get them the best price on the best quality lumber for the project. So again, every now and then I go and I get them the material quote, and they find out that they're completely out of budget. And I'll give you an example. Let's say a customer has a $3,000 budget for the fence. The challenge is that the materials for the fence is roughly around $3,000. So here's the problem. If the customer could barely even afford the materials, how are they gonna, how are they gonna pay for the labor for the fence? And so usually when that happens, we say, okay, hold on. Let's see what we can do to fix this. So I asked the homeowner, if I was to, let's say, leave my workers home and build the fence with you, would you be open to taking, your weekend off one of these days, one of these weekends, and putting on steel-toed boots and building the fence with me? And I can maybe save you $250 on the labor portion. Because again, my portion of the labor compared to the material is relatively low. And when the homeowner tells me, no, I refuse to do that. My weekend is my family time. I want to go fishing. I want to go to the Coddy. I just stopped dealing with them, because at that point on, I just realized that they're completely out to lunch. They're idiots and they're doing bad faith dealing. And the reason I don't even deal with them is that they're so entitled and, kind of foolish that even if they wanted to build the fence with their handy brother-in-law, they couldn't even do it because they don't even want to build the fence on their own property to save money, even though they can barely even afford the materials. And so the challenge is, again, you got to remember that we're in Manitoba, which is considered to be a have-not province, in the sense that the province of Manitoba runs deficits of billions of dollars. And after paying all the welfares and the social programs and all the government employees, the province runs a deficit where then the federal government takes billions of dollars from British Columbia, Alberta, and Saskatchewan to prop up the Manitoba provincial budget. And so it's not just the people on welfare that are, necessarily stupid, lazy, and entitled, but that same attitude has also dripped down to government employees, right? To, regular homeowners. There's that whole attitude of the something for nothing mentality that if you want something, another person should just give it to you, and you don't necessarily have to provide any sort of value back. And look, you can't, hate on people for trying to be hustlers and to do that. But at the end of the day, I'm running a business, and it's not even that I don't want to work for free. It's just that I have an actual budget. Like, I have a cost to operate my business, and I'm very open about how I operate my business. And I've had customers asking me, they say, John, what are your annual budget numbers? So it's very simple. And I'll, break it down for the audience here, because I'm actually very open about how I do business. I'm actually very proud about how I do business and how I'm actually able to generate a profit and be more profitable than a lot of these other small-time guys, despite being the cheapest fence and deck guy in the entire local industry. So typically we have an annual budget where we're planning to make $150,000 of revenue in 7 months. Now, that actually sounds really, really good, but we have legitimate business expenses. So for example, paying all the wages for the workers to work with me full time, over 7 months comes around, $35,000. And maybe I'm not paying that all to one guy. Maybe there's a few guys that I alternate, but I've typically budgeted just be spending $35,000 during the fence and deck season, which is, 6 to 7 months. Then we have other legitimate overhead costs. So, like CPP to pay for, my wages and the workers' wages. There's WCB coverage, worker compensation board for workplace injuries for myself and the workers. There's all the nails and screws that I'm supplying. I have my, my minivan, my work van. It has to be, repaired, maintained. There's all the gas that we're putting in the car. Then I have my accounting fees and, general liability insurance, and I have other insurance coverage. Like, I'm actually in the process of getting disability and critical illness insurance. Because again, I work for myself. I'm self-employed. If something happens to me and I can't work, I'm screwed. So I have to pay into a private plan. But anyways, long story short, when you add all my various miscellaneous expenses that I need to be, insured, properly registered, and take care of my employees, all the miscellaneous fees, I would say that that's between another, and my auto expenses. And then there's also, maintenancing tools. So I would say that all those miscellaneous expenses, which is separate from employee wages, is between $25,000 to $30,000. So you're like, okay, no problem. So we're trying to make, let's say, $150,000 in a 7-month window. But after we subtract the other overhead, which I would say is around $60,000 in overhead, let's say. So you subtract that from 150, and I'm making closer to, $90,000 in 7 months, which, you know what? It's really not that bad. I actually make more money than, the average person who, because let's say you have the government worker and they're making, let's say they're making 100,000, but they had to work 12 months. But the difference is, though, is that I don't have the benefits that they're getting. I'm not getting that incredible pension. I'm not getting those incredible health benefits that they're getting. And think about all the work that I have to do to generate the business to even make all of that. Because a lot of people, when they think about making money, building fences and decks, they only think about getting paid for building the fences and decks, the work that's involved to do it, but they're not necessarily factoring the marketing and sales work. And that's also something that I forgot to mention in my miscellaneous costs, right? Like, it costs money to run the website. It costs money to pay for advertising, right? It costs money to do all these different things, that, the time to drive around all over the city doing quotes, meeting people on my time. Like, think about the hours, all the hours I spend doing these free non-obligatory quotes, right? Don't you think that I should be getting paid for it? So people say, oh, but Carpenter Johnny, He makes so much money. And it's like, you know what? Let's put it this way. Imagine you worked at a job and you were doing close to 70 hours a week. 70 hours a week every week for like 26 to 30 weeks straight. Don't you believe that your wage should compensate and pay you more than somebody that was only working 40 hours a week every week for that exact same time period? And a lot of people would disagree and they say, no, but John, you voluntarily chose to work those extra hours. That's on you. You don't deserve to be getting paid more. And ironically, these are the same people that then cry on the internet about how the corporations and the governments are ripping people off and not paying them enough by the hour. But then ironically, they'll twist it around and say, oh, but John, the businessman, Johnny doesn't deserve to be getting paid more because he's working more hours on average. So again, we tune out that nonsense completely. But what's remarkable is that even though I make decent money in the 7 months that I work, imagine how much money the other business owners make who don't give the same prices that I do. Like, imagine how much money these people make that charge full price on the fences and decks. Now, I was doing the numbers, like last year, because I have a lot of friends that are fence and deck guys, and believe me, these guys don't offer Carpenter Johnny rates. Like, these guys pay a shit ton of money in marketing. They charge full price, no discounts, nothing. You pay the market rate. So I was actually doing the numbers, and if I was to charge the same prices that these people are charging, I would have made probably close to $300,000 in revenues in that same period of time, in that 7-month period. But but here's the thing, me trying to be the honest, hardworking discount fence and deck guy, I literally make half the money doing double the volume that these guys do. Because if these guys make all that money, if these guys make like extra money doing like 2/3 or half the work I do, I have to literally double their volume to make anywhere close to a decent amount compared to what these jokers make. And you know what, that's kind of mean. I shouldn't call them jokers. But at the end of the day, there needs to be an acknowledgement of all the work and the effort that I put into this to provide Winnipeggers with honest, reliable, good quality, and conscientious service to provide the professional grade fences and decks that I do. And so part of the quotation process, which I did touch base a bit earlier, is that not only do we want to break down the labor and material portion, but we want to have as much details as possible. So for example, I insist on coming on site, not just to shake hands with the homeowner, but so I can take actual measurements and make sure that we're not, we're pricing it right and that there's no surprises in the layout. Because sometimes there's weird things happening in the backyard. Like there might be, a hydro line that's going right on the edge of the property where the fence is supposed to be built. And now we can't machine dig to set in posts, right? Everything now has to be hand dug with a supervised dig. That obviously is going to change the price. Or maybe there's something very unusual with the architecture of the house that's going to impede me from being able to build the deck at the best possible price because we have to now change all these things. So I am very insistent in doing the on-site inspection so I can make sure that there's no surprises. And typically when I'm dealing with the prospect and they don't want me to come by, they want me to just lock into a price over the phone, I don't want to deal with it either, because if a customer is hiding something from me, right, it means that there's a bad faith dealing going in place and that they're deliberately trying to sandbag and snowball me from being able to make a proper assessment of what's going on. Now, I've been in business for 10 years and I'm not gonna, joke around that the first year or two in business in Ontario, I fell for it, and I dealt with jokers like that, where they try to lock you in on a price over the phone, but then when you show up and do the work and things are completely fucked up, they say that you have to honor the price because that's what you gave them. Never mind that things completely changed. So this is why I don't play that game. I ask for all the details and information, and if the homeowner is being honest, they have nothing to hide. They already know it's in their best interest to get the guy hired, to hire the guy who knows what he's doing and knows what's going on there. And so we don't deal with bad faith prospects. And I've had contractors ask me in the past why I don't take deposits and why I feel so comfortable and safe dealing with all these homeowners. You know, I deal with a lot of strangers. Like, think about the hundreds of people I'm dealing with every single year, and how I never asked them to ever pay me a deposit directly. And so the reason I told the other contractors why I feel safe is for various reasons. Reason number one is I'm not paying for the materials. The materials is usually, 50 to 60%, sometimes more, of the project budget. So I don't even deal with the materials because that's like nonsense. Like, why would I take on that liability? So I tell the homeowners, I'm like, listen, here's the material list you need, whatever. I've already gotten a quote from William Dixon Sons or Norson Distributors or Star or whatever. All you have to do is pay this bill and the materials is going to be delivered straight to you after you directly paid the supplier. So already there, the homeowner is already paying for the materials, and I don't even have to deal with the money, right? And then the other reason I feel safe is because I'm educated, I'm smart, I'm doing good business, incredible track record, 50 plus positive online reviews. I'm accredited with Better Business Bureau. I get the Better Business Bureau mail because I'm a member. And so I already know that if for whatever reason the customer decides then not to pay me after the fact, even though I did my end of the deal, I already know that there's mechanisms to get paid. Like, you just lien on the property and then you take them to court. And you don't even have to sue them under contract law. You go sue them for civil fraud for triple the amount that you initially billed them for. And then they just lose the house. They just go into foreclosure. It's over. And I want to say that despite having this knowledge of knowing how to collect money, I want to say that I'm very, very proud of the Carpenter Johnny community, that in 5 years of doing business in Manitoba, I never had to sue any of my customers for money. I never had to lien on any properties. I never had to ruin anybody's life or make them lose their house. Right? I'm very proud of that track record, that for 5 years, we were able to keep everybody happy, enter into a voluntary agreement, have a contract, and that both sides were able to honor the agreement to the letter. And the reason that this is important is it's very important to vet your contractor. So for example, we have here an ad from John Dick's Landscaping, who's he paid for a whole page here on the Better Business Bureau 2024 consumer guide. And so John Dick's actually has a guide. He has a checklist for what homeowners can do to properly vet a contractor. So for example, they say do a background check on the contractor. Check their history and performance through the BBB. Look for lawsuits pending against the contractor. Ask for references and double check them. Verify that the contractor has general liability insurance. Verify that the contractor has WCB insurance. And verify whether the trade that the contractor is doing is a full-time endeavor versus just a part-time activity. Now, the reason that this is very important is because obviously it's vital for homeowners that are considering hiring a stranger, a contractor, to work on their home. It's vital to know that they're dealing with a legitimate business. But the reason I'm mentioning this is that it's a two-way street. So for the same reason that a homeowner should be vetting a contractor should be vetting a homeowner. And I call it the Carpenter Johnny litmus test. And this is why we make these goofy videos and I post memes, and I'll drink a beer at lunchtime or after work in front of the client. And I advertise that because if a potential client is angry of how I operate, if they're angry that I'm having a beer at lunch, if they're angry that I'm having a beer after work, if they're angry that I'm the discount fence and deck guy because their next door neighbor paid double the price for whatever reason, if they're, angry because I'm asking them, legitimate questions to understand, their needs and what they want for their project better, if they're angry or upset by any of those things that I'm doing as part of my due diligence to provide better customer service, I don't want to deal with them. And they're instantly cut off from being able to hire Carpenter Johnny. And they're more than welcome to hire a variety of other alternatives. And, this is almost like the yellow pages. There's like, oh, look at all these other different companies that you can hire that are all featured on the VPP that are more expensive than Carpenter Johnny. But anyways, if they don't like what Carpenter Johnny stands for, what Carpenter Johnny does, what Carpenter Johnny says, how Carpenter Johnny prices things lower than everybody else, they're welcome to hire somebody else. I'm proud of the fact that I have such an amazing community, that I vet my customers very well. There's no such thing as a bad questions. We're always qualifying each other, because respect's a two-way street. And I'm very proud that for the 5 years that I've been in business in Manitoba, we never had to sue anybody, never had to lean on any properties, and that everybody was happy. And if more businesses could take a page from the Carpenter Johnny book, and if more homeowners could be open-minded and, do their research and, care about their community and care about Carpenter Johnny, or just care about the other businesses that are trying to operate honestly and transparently like Carpenter Johnny. But if we could all just come and work together, we can make the community a better place. I'm Carpenter Johnny, the most wanted fence and deck guy in the Manitoba Wild West.